The Supreme Court has overturned Roe v. Wade. When I was 23, I aborted a pregnancy. It caused me a lot of pain over the years, emotionally. But I would never, not in a million years, be for banning it. The case of unviable pregnancies alone is horrifying. If I was American and anything other than a white heterosexual cis man, I'd get out of there as fast as I could. Or at least go to a deep blue state and hope for the Republicans to never again get anywhere near the White House. I don't feel good. I'm a police officer. I will not enforce the laws that they instantly placed in Oklahoma. Someone else can take the case. I will not put handcuffs on someone for abortion. I will not inevitably put handcuffs on someone for having a gay relationship, and I will not put cuffs on someone for being married and gay. I will happily lose my job on this hill. In 10 years, we will see a large increase in crime rate as children are forced to be born in poverty, which I believe is what the government desires. More poverty-stricken low-class workers keeps the cogs of the wheel of Social Security inflated for another 10 years. Low income increases crime rate, and the cycle continues. Things are bleak, and in all honesty, if this is the hill I lose everything on, then so be it. As someone who lives in Missouri, the populated non-bumblefuck part, I'm hella fucking pissed off. I'm pissed off this shit happened. I'm pissed off the place that I love is about to get dragged for some shit that only yokels vote for. I'm pissed for every woman I've ever called a friend, and I'm at a loss for what I'm supposed to do now, but the anger is fucking real. Children should not be killed in the womb. They should be killed in the classroom because guns are a basic human right and access to healthcare is not. It saddens me greatly to realize cops will not save living, breathing children from scenarios in a school, but will spend 100 of their resources to track down a woman who had an abortion. Edit. I turned off notifications for this post. There's too many people just commenting out of anger instead of thinking for a few seconds. For all the people with real constructive responses, thank you. While not American, I'll be watching the aftermath unfolding with some anxiety. This flavor of insanity is often contagious. That's how I feel as a Canadian. I don't want this doctrine to spread north. This flavor of insanity is often contagious. Damn powerful statement. I think I'm having a panic attack. I was just told my pregnancy isn't likely to be viable at the end of last week, but there is still a heartbeat. I don't know what this is going to change for me in literally the next few days. I have an appointment at 1 to help determine if we need to terminate, but now I'm not sure what options I have. I am so scared and angry. It depends on your state. I had an identical situation and chose to wait it out and miscarry naturally instead of having an abortion. It was hands down one of the worst decisions of my life. I had to carry a dead fetus in my body for 4 weeks while my hormones figured out the fetus had not survived. For 4 weeks I kept saying any day now, which is why I never pursued an eventual abortion. I spend months in therapy dealing with a PTSD. I'm so sorry you'll have to possibly live through that. Trauma therapy is really helpful if you do have lasting trauma. Edit. If you can't have an abortion, I would recommend either going back every week to check for a heartbeat and get a deck once, whereas there is no heartbeat. That's the no heartbeat. That's the option. Or pursuing an internationally sold Rule 486 pill. What state are you in? Take your time to calm down and figure out what your state is doing. Some states were ready for this. Others are still figuring things out. The Rantia Network has great information and resources regarding abortion services. I'm so sorry that you're in this position in such a scary time. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you have been put in this position. It's unfair and it sucks. Healthcare is being ripped away from us, and it feels like being sliced open by 1,000 knives. I truly wish you the best. It's just the start. Clarence Thomas wrote today that contraception and gay marriage are next. The court is giving you guns but taking away everything else. As someone with a background in history, banning everything but weapons in a nation with a large underclass that feels they have no future and nothing to lose and already has a problem with persistent acts of terrorism is let's just say, interesting move. I'm just wondering if he'll overturn interracial marriages. 28-year-old female. I live in Massachusetts. I am in a significantly safer position than so many across the country. However, I am so scared of my own body that I've just reached out to numerous doctors to find one who will sterilize me. I have zero faith in how the next few years could play out, and as we can see how easily all this came crumbling down, birth control is absolutely next. Women are going to die. The sick thing is that people who support this are fine with that. They signed these people's death warrant and are celebrating. Women are going to be forced out of the workforce, and they are celebrating that. Women are going to be stuck in abusive relationships, and they are celebrating that. Women will literally have the decaying corpse of their child in them, with only a hope the body expels it before the sepsis sets in. Women are going to be policed on their miscarriages. They will try to imprison them. This is the direction the country is racing towards, and I'm so fucking sick thinking about it. Women deserve so much better. I feel the urge to leave and move to a state that aligns more with my beliefs in women's constitutional rights to abortion, or even another country if I can. I feel angry, sad, and scared. Being a woman in this country is becoming a living nightmare. I have cause and live in a very anti-abortion state. I want children, but I don't want to be put on trial if I miscarry, which costs increases the chances of happening. My husband and I have decided that we're not starting a family in Texas. When we're ready for kids, we're moving. As a healthcare worker, this is going to be a fucking nightmare. I'm legitimately scared about what ends people will go to without safe options for birth control. Our healthcare system is stretched thin as is, and emergency medicine is a rubber and barely holding it together. I don't like the implications of how this can potentially break something so damn fragile, especially after the fallout of the COVID pandemic. Our current government does not believe healthcare is a right. The older I get, the more I find out that friends have had abortions, and they are for heartbreaking reasons. This is also going to have broad implications on the right to privacy in general, but particularly the right to privacy between you and your doctor. If you think only women are affected by the abortion ban, you are wrong. Forcing babies into poverty will only increase crime rates because children and adults of low economic status have more incentive to join gangs and commit crime. Imagine trying to buy a house or get a job with all of the extra competition in this thing economy. Imagine trying to have a kid with your wife, but there are medical complications which make your fetus non-viable, requiring an abortion, and she dies for no reason. People you know personally will be affected and may die or suffer immensely as a result. This affects the entire country in a very negative way. You might think this won't affect you because most of us never lived in a reality where abortion was banned federally. All it takes is bad luck for it to affect you. All those Askreddits where people ask why don't you want kids? And all the people chime in talking about how they felt that way too until they had their own. Well, we're about to have a society full of people getting pregnant without the option to terminate, possibly without the option to terminate, possibly without birth control itself, even being accessible if they go after previous rulings, find out quickly that not everyone feels differently about kids when they're your own. A lot of people forget how child abuse neglect was just a Tuesday in more households and not in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Times are changing, and child welfare is probably going to backslide as well with the increasing caseloads in another few short years. I feel like I'm watching my country fail in real time at accelerating speed. That's exactly how I felt, in addition to being angry and scared. I'm not sure how much longer I can stay in the USA. I grew up in the Bible Belt and overturning Roe V. Wade was one of the most prominent talking points from politicians campaigning in the area. The dog caught the car. I didn't think it would happen. What will they run on now? I'm kind of afraid to find out. Thomas, in his concurring opinion, says the court should reconsider Griswold, Lawrence, and Obergefell, the rulings that now protect contraception, same-sex relationships, and same-sex marriage. Clarence Thomas already stated it. Gay rights are next on the chopping block. What a disgrace the Supreme Court is. Getting rid of gay marriage is next up on the chopping block. Edit. To all those saying no, gay marriage was made legal by Obergefell v. Hodges. If they can overturn Roe v. Wade, what makes you think this won't be overturned? Edit again. From Ugita Joda statement from Thomas. Removed majority as it was just Thomas. They'll go against contraceptives and diodes. IV 2, gay marriage and sex. Porn, interracial marriage, trans rights. They'll push to make abortion federally illegal. They'll do anything and everything to put you in your place. To those not thinking about the impact abortion bans will have on the living, breathing women and existing families of this nation. Overall, 23.7% of women have had an abortion since Roe was decided. That number has dropped to around 18% for women in recent years due to better availability of contraception and more complete sexual education, even if via internet. Even if via internet, you truly care about reducing abortion, this is where to concentrate your effort. Those wanting Roe overturned and abortion criminalized are in the minority at the 30s and to 20. This prohibition is not the will of the people. Those who think their lifestyle means it can never happen to them, look around you. Every fourth woman you see has made the choice to end a pregnancy. In your church, in your school, in your friend group, in your fan group, in your family. Maybe you and you're lying to protect yourself from. Well, we all know what you're protecting yourself from. It happens all the time. Even the women screaming outside clinics then too. Roughly the same number of women today have miscarriages as have abortions. Miscarriages look like botched abortions. Miscarriages often require a diet to protect the woman from sepsis and other complications. A deuce is an abortion. If you think your wife, your daughter, yourself will be treated well by medical personnel because not me, I suggest you read some of the pre-Roe horror stories. About 40%. 40% for 40%. Of women will be directly and negatively impacted by this intrusion. None of that 40 owe you a single cell of their body. At any given time, there are over 100,000 children waiting to be adopted in the US. There's no shortage of children to adopt. The women most likely today to abort are those of us most in need. Poverty-stricken women, often women of color, in their 20s or 30s, often having children already, who don't have access to decent healthcare, education, or contraception, who work constantly and still need assistance just to feed the children she has. These are the women most impacted. The US has the worst maternal mortality rate of the developed world. Women of color die at 3 times the rate of white women. For those thinking, I don't want to pay for it. Soapbox. You already pay for it. Soapbox. You already pay for it, one way or another. As a community, we all do. The only question to answer is, does the community spend to educate and lift everyone up? Or does the community spend to shame, demonize, imprison those with the least? Note to self, invest in privatized women's prison. It will invest in privatized women's prison. It will so on be boom time. SC, the clerk checking out your 99-cent plastic bowl from Walmart, is likely working as many jobs and mere hours as possible, only to still need public assistance to feed their children, that they then get shamed for needing him. Before starting any back in my day stories, really think about what it would have been like for you 30, 40 years ago, if you instead made $70 for every $100. What if you had no family to help? I remember taking $20 and a calculator to the grocery store to feed us for an entire week, because that's all I had. Now take that $20 away and another $100 for good measure. That's where today's poor live. Walmart recorded record profits, thanks in part to the corporate welfare of low wages, not low taxes, and an economic system manipulated to allow the wealth of an entire nation to be siphoned off into private hands. TEPS, UW, Sedovich data, Hestet maternal mortality, 2020 maternal mortality rates, 2020. Heart Matcher, Org News, released 2017 abortion, common appearance, released 2017 abortion, common appearance, rains, Wapaktek, declines, raised steps, woo, women, ocean, uptek, come abortion, statistics, opinions, 2016 Polyteps, 2W parents, comparenting my mom, and I had an abortion, statistics, 255,375,000. Of children waiting to be adopted in the United States, Tatpo, Wensuskofli 2022, census, gov topics, income, poverty, income, inequality. Hatmil, Haps, Research, Org Social Trends, 2020, Unay 9 Trends in Income, and Wealth Inequalities, Haps, Saw, Independent Company or News, World Americas, Illegal, Roe, Wade 2 million, 75. Comedies Archive 2023, before, Roe V. Wade, 607,609. I had a deuce because my body thought I was still pregnant, though my baby had no heartbeat at 9 weeks. Nausea, vomiting, feeling of being pregnant, exhaustion. I had it all up till 11 weeks. It measured 7 weeks. My body couldn't even start the process of termination itself for a month, so I had to have an intervention. If I didn't had a diatus for the missed miscarriage, I might have died of sepsis. I live in Saudi, and even here it's legalized to save mothers. I am pro-choice, but my religion states otherwise. I have read too many cases that changed my mind. It's a horrific situation in the US. Sick. My friend had 3 miscarriages this year, 2 of which required abortions for her health and future fertility. Women and babies will die. People will lose mothers, wives, girlfriends, daughters, granddaughters. The list goes on. More children will be born only to be abused and neglected. The fallout will be more wide-ranging and insidious than we can even anticipate. I'm also violently angry. I'm genuinely confused. Are non-viable pregnancies that require abortions not going to be legal in certain states because of this? Do they expect the mother to just die? I feel terribly sorry for the waves of unwanted children that are forthcoming. Yeah, can't wait. Our system can't handle the unwanted children we already have. We estimate that crime fell roughly 20 between 1997 and 2014 due to legalized abortion. The cumulative impact of legalized abortion on crime is roughly 40-45, accounting for a very substantial portion of the roughly 50-55 overall decline from the peak of crime in the early 1990s. Crime will skyrocket within at least the next 18 years due to unwanted children and broken households. I feel terribly sorry for the women who are forced to give birth to them. This will not stop abortions. This will stop safe abortions. Eat it. Why am I getting all these replies about gun control? You say this as if they might care, lol. If you die from an unsafe abortion, it's a win-win for them. Just hoping the pro-lifers out there are making space in their homes for all the kids they plan on adopting. I need to bitch about this quick. Adoption should not be a multi-year process that costs tens of thousands of dollars. But where will they put all their rocks to throw at women having kids out of wedlock? Maybe fucked up to say, but I'm glad my Women's March, protesting social justice fighting, feminist mother isn't alive to see this. These were almost verbatim what my own mother said about my grandmother 10 minutes ago. It's heartbreaking, but I agree. My mother fought for women's rights in the 60s. She's speechless right now. 50 years of progress down the toilet. She fought to have women be treated as human beings and dedicated a life to that cause. I'm crying right now just thinking about it. Imagine being Margaret Atwood. Imagine watching your work of dystopian fiction come to life. Imagine how horrified she is now. She's probably thinking, oh God, what kind of a world am I leaving behind for my children? Edit. Biden can issue an executive order to protect abortion rights. Link for further reading. Vox article on Biden mulling over executive orders to protect abortion rights. Hot 2020. 163,780. 163,780. One move. WAD. SCOTUS. Biden. Abortion executive orders. It amazes me how passionately America cares for unborn children and simultaneously couldn't give 2 shifts about living, breathing kids getting shot and killed on a weekly basis. Seems kids' lives only matter in the womb. Or maybe, just maybe, this is the ugly face of the subtle epidemic of misogyny. Edit. Additional point. I wonder how many of these pro-lifers will be willing to register to adopt. I have a feeling if all those pro-lifers were made to adopt the children that will now be given up, they'd quickly become pro-choice. Everyone's opinion on others changes when they start to impact their own life. I feel angry and betrayed, especially as the wording of the ruling clears the way for other rights to be done away with in the same manner. A direct quote from their ruling states. Next, the court examines whether the right to obtain an abortion is rooted in the nation's history and tradition and whether it is an essential component of ordered liberty. The court finds that the right to abortion is not deeply rooted in the nation's history and traditions. Guess what else, from their standpoint, fits that criteria? Lesbian, transgender, etc., right. I give it a month, at most 6 months, before SCOTUS gets a case on their docket that deal with logbook rights such as marriage. And I feel the writing is on the wall in regards to how this court will rule. So, I already live in a state with a trigger law about abortion. Abortion in my state will become damn near illegal within 30 days. The only abortion that will be legal is in the case of life-threatening pregnancy. My state is already trying to find loopholes in the law to discredit same-sex marriage. As a lesbian, I don't like the writing on the wall. I have less to worry about in regards to abortion rights, though I am still very pissed an important right has been effectively taken away for many women. But this ruling doesn't bode well for the future. Arguing from history and tradition is so fucking insultingly dumb, it would be better if they just said, fuck women. We hate them. If we're arguing from history and tradition, the user should cede power to the Queen as head of state and pay reparations to the British gentry. I doubt this comment will be seen given that nearly 4,000 comments already made, but I'll just say that the logic used to justify this decision is honestly more worrying than the decision itself. It's bad enough that the door is open for outlawing abortion, but the logic used to justify overruling a previous Supreme Court verdict can be used to roll back nearly anything. It doesn't matter that they wrote in the decision that this logic shouldn't be used for other situations, because that's not how precedent works. They set the precedent that decisions can be rolled back if they don't conform to an arbitrary interpretation of what the Constitution originally guaranteed, and so this can be used for just about anything. They can always say, well, it makes sense this time. Not next time, but this time. We promise we won't do it again, probably. It's no wonder that people have little confidence in the Supreme Court now. They did it to themselves. Quick edit, since the Reddit algorithm has blessed my comment with visibility. I encourage people to reach at least the syllabus portion of the full decision text, which can be found here. Teps, which can be found here. Ots, Globally Supreme Court, Govis in 1930-90. Husks textive, 7 Peter fits short and lays out the reasoning behind the decision. Regardless of your feelings about the outcome, it's valuable to understand the arguments and form your own decision as to whether they make sense. Of course, the dissents are well worth a read as well. Edit 2. I feel the need to add this part because some critics seem to be misunderstanding my point. I never said that the problem is that the court overturned precedent. The court mentions Plessy v. Ferguson being overturned on the 4th goddamn page of the decision text. You think I don't realize that the Supreme Court has overturned decisions before? My point is that the logic they used here is insidious. The idea of implicit rights is foundational to many rights we currently enjoy and take for granted, such as the right to privacy. The decision here calls that very logic into question, and with it a huge number of previous rulings that can be overturned using this decision as justification. It means that there's no such thing as settled law anymore. Any C decision can be overturned by a future ski, and the legality of fundamentals is based mostly on who's in power rather than precedent. Today's decision has essentially voided the notion that precedent matters. I refuse to believe that rich women will be affected by this. They'll always have options. This is another attack on the poor. If you're poor and live in a red state, then you're double fucked. Healthcare providers will go to blue states to be free of government interference. Once again, the Republicans screw over their own voters and will blame it on the liberal. Separation of church and state, tax the churches. I'm a straight white Christian man, and I'm pissed off. The only places in my book that mention abortion are how-tos. Rabbinic scholars, who know a fuck of a lot more about Old Testament law than these fungi televangelists and lawmakers do, have all agreed that life begins at breath, not conception. A man who causes a woman to miscarry is sentenced to pay a fine equal to a loss of property, not life. I'm disgusted by members of my faith who disobey both God and their nation by mixing church and state. By giving to God what is Caesar's. It's not gonna hurt me personally. But last I checked, I was told to care for those not like me, not go out of my way to make their life hell. Fuck this edit. This will affect me personally. I just wanted to put forward the idea that we shouldn't support human rights only when we benefit from them. Rights have their place even when we don't benefit personally. I'm not gay, but I want my gay friend to have the right to marry who they choose. Period. Second edit. Don't give me awards for having a set of opinions. There are local women in your area who will need money to cover the cost of their out-of-state trip to get an abortion. Give to those causes. No abortion, no healthcare, no maternity leave, no affordable housing, school violence, Police authorities with too much power and close to zero control and responsibility. Lobbying. America feels like a premium third world. Why aren't millennials having kids? It's freemium gaming. You're guaranteed to start the game for free, and then everything else from there on out is a microtransaction. Our fertility doctor has informed us that he will no longer provide services to me and my wife, given the higher chance of needing a medically necessary abortion. Any stillborn child would now legally be required to be carried to full term. This is far too dangerous for my wife's health, in his medical opinion. So intense rage is how I'm feeling. My wife and I have been going through fertility treatments for 5 years now. I can't imagine what that news would feel like. I am so sorry. If you're able, I would encourage you to reach out to a major newspaper to share your story. Oh my, I'm so incredibly sorry, and I'm livid for you and your wife. The sea took your chances of having a baby away. My God, I'm crying even more tears of anger now. I'm so sorry for you and your wife. Maybe fertility treatments will be outlawed. If you can't get pregnant naturally, then that is God's will. I'm feeling like religious morals and posturing have no place in government, is how I feel. This will not go well. The country was founded on the belief of separation of church and state, yet we are very quickly moving into theocracy. It is probably one of the most disastrous domestic policy decisions in my lifetime. Extraordinarily disappointed. I'm a doctor, and I have seen how much nuance goes into this decision with regards to health impacts for a mother or viability of the fetus, and many states are going to squash the ability to even consider the complex factors that go into this decision. As I said above, it is disastrous. It's the only word I have for this. As a gay man, I know they are coming for me next. Not only did they overturn Roe, but they have the chutzpah to spell out other rights that have been settled for decades in their opinion that are now at risk. Edit a word. They were kind, enough to outline precisely how to. Lawrence and Obergefell are directly quoted as a hey, come and get it. I'm terrified for all of us. I feel sick to my stomach. I would have never thought this settled law would have been overturned, but here we are. I have a daughter, and I'm raising her in a state that is mainly red. I am a teacher for kids with special needs, and I expect my caseload to skyrocket over the next decade. I'm pretty furious. The Republicans are doing everything in their power to halt any kind of progress in the use. We have all these checks and balances in place that Republicans use with malicious intent because they know the Democrats won't reciprocate. The fact that the sea is so conservative now because of that turtle-faced fuck just makes my blood boil. Obama! Oh, I want to confirm this justice 8 months before I leave office. McConnell. Wah, 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 wah. That's not enough time to do our due diligence and doesn't look great. Like you're just forcing a progressive into the position. I won't allow the vote to happen under these circumstances. 4 years pass. Arbjai is just before the election, McConnell. We are not leaving this room until Daddy's choice is confirmed.